How's everybody doing? Today's video is going to be a review and demo of the Tusk 1.4mm teardrop guitar pick in the variation Warm. The last one I just reviewed was Bright, which was basically the same pick, but it is white, whereas this one is more of a tan, off-white, sort of cream color. Otherwise, dimensionally, they're the same. It's about a standard Jazz size, not a Jazz XL, but like a Jazz 3. It's roughly similar to the Bright version as far as feel. It's a very solid feel. It feels like it's dense. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but it feels maybe slightly more flexible than the Bright one. But it's pretty stiff. They advertise this as being stiffer compared to its size, something like that. High stiffness to thickness ratio. If you can tell that on camera, this pick has the GraphTech logo raised for grip, and then on the other side it says Tusk 1.4, and then it says TD, I'm guessing for teardrop, but it's sort of a teardrop Jazz size. To put it in perspective, here it is in front of my normal Jazz 3 XL. So these are definitely picks for people who like a Jazz size pick. I will say that. My finger is already taking a beating from hitting the string so hard playing the last one. So I don't know how much real good playing I'm going to get from this, but I do want to hear how this sounds in comparison to the Bright version and how it sounds in general. So without further ado, so let me explain the sort of odd playing there. I was trying to really see if I could hear a difference between the Bright pick, the way that it just sounded when I was playing it probably 10 minutes ago, and the warm pick. And I hate to say it's not very obvious, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare them back to back. So this is turning into sort of a pick review / pick comparison here. Okay, so we have the white pick is the bright tone, the tan pick is the warm tone. So here's the bright tone. I'm going to do this with no amp first, just so I can hear the pick on the strings. Warm. Bright. Warm. More gain, starting off with bright. And then when I switch, I'm going to switch to warm. So you'll see me switch back and forth. This is the bright. I'm still on warm. Bright. Okay, staying on bright. Warm. Well, that's interesting. So I would typically pride myself on the fact that I can hear very, very minute differences in gear, like fretboards, inlays, no inlays, what kind of strings you have, what kind of pick you're using, what kind of amp you're using, obviously, what kind of pickups. But I've gotten into pick reviews a lot lately, and there's some picks where the difference is like night and day. On this pick, it almost seems like there should be a bigger difference based on the fact that one is called bright and one is called warm. I guess take into consideration the fact that they are largely similar I mean, they're exactly the same size and shape, and probably very, very close in material. And also take into consideration the fact that I'm sitting in a room with a Boss Katana, and I'm not using headphones or any kind of monitors, and it's pretty quiet. But I usually do these pick reviews like this because it gives you an idea of the sound of the pick attacking the string straight to the camera, as well as what it sounds like through an amp. And even, or I should say in this circumstance, I can't tell a significant difference between the two. I think when I was riffing on like the lower strings for a minute, I could tell the biggest difference, but it was not what I would call a big difference. And I would say, in fact, it's minute enough that I would not put any money on me being able to tell the difference between the two if I couldn't see what they were, which that is actually saying a lot. So it makes me wonder what the deep version would sound like, but unfortunately I don't have one here to test. But between bright and warm, you know, I guess if you were buying this pick, go with what sounds appealing to you, but I don't think you would be disappointed if you went one way or the other. So that was kind of interesting. If you guys could tell a big difference on the camera audio, that would be interesting to hear. So let me know that in the comments if you could tell a big difference. But me sitting here, the way that this setup is, I could not tell a significant difference, I would say that. Again, maybe a little bit when I was on the lower couple strings only riffing, but playing chords I couldn't really tell a big difference, and when I was sort of intricately playing I couldn't tell a big difference. And really you'll probably notice that a lot of that playing that I was doing just now was in a style meant to bring out the differences. It wasn't like how I would normally play, so that's interesting. So really my review of this is going to be very similar to the Bright. So it's a really good contender for a jazz size pick. It has a very similar tip angle to a Dunlop Jazz 3, very similar size, not a lot of flex at all, very glassy feeling except for the grip. It's interesting because I'm a big fan of GraphTech Tusq nuts on a guitar. In fact, I just put one on a guitar. I've never tried their picks before until now. They're definitely interesting. Unfortunately, they're too small for me to really use for a whole session, because I feel like that's what it would take for me to become very familiar, or familiar enough to be able to notice the difference between the Bright and Warm pick on a regular basis. I feel like you'd have to play each one for probably an hour or two before you could say, oh yeah, that's easily. So I'm editing this video right now, and that's how the footage ends for some reason. It sounds like somebody honked like a train horn, which there's not really a train around here. And then I kind of stared off into space, and then it just ended. But what I normally would say at that point is thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to share it and subscribe, and I will see you next time.